Hello students. In the previous module, we discussed about the differences among insulators, semiconductors and conductors. Now in this module, we will discuss types of semiconductors. There are two types of semiconductors, intrinsic semiconductors and extrinsic semiconductors. This classification is based on the basis of source and nature of charge carriers in the semiconductors. So first I will discuss intrinsic semiconductor. Semiconductors in the pure form are called intrinsic semiconductors. That is, pure semiconductor is the intrinsic semiconductor. The presence of mobile charge carriers is an intrinsic property of the intrinsic semiconductors, and these charge carriers are produced due to thermal agitation. The examples of intrinsic semiconductors are germanium, and silicon. In pure form, germanium and silicon are called pure semiconductors. Now the question is, what gives rise to conductivity in the intrinsic semiconductor? To understand this, we need to understand the crystal lattice of such elements, such semiconductors. These semiconductors are having 4 valence electrons. These 4 valence electrons are revolving in the outermost orbits, and each of atom of pure semiconductor shares its 4 valence electron with the neighboring atom, forming covalent bond. Now how it happens? See, suppose this is the atom of either silicon or germanium. It will have 4 valence electron. Now Now this process will continue with the neighboring atoms. Thus you can see every atom is capable of completing its octet. Octet means having 8 electrons in the outermost orbit by sharing its 4 electrons with the neighboring atoms. Each atom, for example, you consider this atom, this is having 4 valence electron, and since it is sharing 1 electron with this atom, 1 electron with this, 1 with this, 1 with this, so it completes its octet. Such crystal lattice is called tetrahedral crystal lattice. Each germanium atom is tetrahedrally bonded to 4 neighboring germanium atoms. Such a crystal structure is also called diamond-like structure. the shared pair of electrons oscillate back and forth. Back and forth means sometimes ahead, sometimes backward, forward, backward, between two associated atoms. This is these electrons going this way, coming back, going this way, coming back. This oscillation takes place. So this is the structure of pure semiconductor. It may be either germanium atom or silicon atom. So such structure is called tetrahedral structure or diamond structure. Now, at low temperature, this is a very important point to understand. At low temperature, these covalent bonds are strong and stable. Therefore, there is no free electron available to conduct, and therefore, at low temperature, pure semiconductors behave like insulator, which I told you in the previous module also, that at low temperature they behave like insulator. But at room temperature, when the temperature is high, the thermal energy of the valence electron increases. As shown in figure, an electron may break away from covalent bond. What does it mean? It means, now I am coming to the point, what gives rise to charge carriers and conductivity. At room temperature, what happens? Due to thermal excitation, any of the covalent bond breaks and valence electron becomes free. For example, to make you understand, suppose this electron is free, this covalent bond is broken and electron is made available. This is free electron due to thermal excitation. Thermal excitation means gaining the heat energy present in the surrounding. So I am gaining the energy, this electron, it gains sufficient energy, so it breaks away the covalent bond and comes out. Now here, the vacancy of electron is created. Now you try to understand how the conductivity takes place. A vacancy of electron, because earlier at low temperature here was the electron. Now electron has been broken away. It has become free. It gives rise to conductivity and also leaves a vacancy. This vacancy is treated as hole and considered to have equal amount of positive charge. So this apparent particle is called hole. It is the vacancy of the electron and supposed to have equal amount of positive charge. Means charge on electron is minus E, so it will have plus E charge. Now what happens? Now suppose how the conductivity arises in the pure semiconductor. Suppose this vacancy, another electron gains the energy due to thermal excitation and jumps into this. So see the movement of the electron. Electron is moving in this way. So when electron has moved from this point to this point, what will happen? Here the electron will be present. So electron has moved from here to here. This is the movement of electron, leaving a vacancy over here, which is again having the plus positive charge. So electron is moving in this way and hole is moving in the opposite direction, plus E. So this is how holes are generated and moved. Now you can see one electron which is freed due to thermal excitation gives rise to one hole. Therefore, the concentration means number of electrons present per unit volume. The concentration of electron in intrinsic semiconductor, it is equal to concentration of holes in the intrinsic semiconductor. What does it mean? It means as many electrons will be there in per unit volume, same amount of holes will also be present over there in the intrinsic semiconductor. Both the numbers will be equal. And since these charge carriers, they are the charge carriers, because of them charge is moving, and rate of flow of charge is called current, giving rise to conductivity. Since these charges are called intrinsic charges, therefore their number is equal to intrinsic charge carriers. I stands for intrinsic charge carriers. Number of electrons equals to number of holes equals to number of intrinsic charge carriers. Now, when an electric field is applied, in the chapter electric field, you must have learned this is the direction of suppose electric field, then electron will move in the opposite direction of electric field, and positive charge, that is the hole, will move in the direction of electric field. So when these semiconductors, when there is no applied electric field, then number of electrons and number of holes are equal. There is no net displacement, no current flows. But when electric field is applied, then what happens? Electron starts moving in a direction opposite to the applied electric field, giving rise to current due to electron, and holes starts moving in the direction of electric field, giving rise to hole current. So this is called electronic current and hole current, and their sum is equal to the total current flowing in the semiconductor. Both gives rise to, because of both, the current is flowing in the pure semiconductor. Once again, at low temperature, all the covalent bonds are stable and they are strong enough, and therefore there is no free electron available, no current flows. Therefore, at low temperature, pure semiconductors behave like insulators. But at room temperature, the electrons gain sufficient energy to break away the covalent bond and are freed. These free electrons are responsible for the flow of current. Each electron leaves behind a vacancy termed as hole and supposed to have an effective positive charge equal to the charge on electron. Therefore, number of electrons is equal to number of holes in the semiconductor in unit volume. That is, their charge concentration is equal, and E equals to NH equals to Ni. When electric field is applied, electron moves in a direction opposite to the electric field, giving rise to electronic current or current due to electron, and holes move in the direction of applied electric field, giving rise to hole current, and their sum is equal to the total current flowing in the semiconductor. So this is all about how semiconductors conduct electricity. Now, on the basis of energy band diagram, we need to understand it. When the covalent bonds were not broken, electrons were not freed. If you recall, in the previous module, I told you how to show like this. Both I am comparing here. at low temperature, means at absolute temperature, I told you like this, that this is conduction band completely empty and this is valence band completely filled at T equals to 0 Kelvin. But now, since we are having the descriptions of all the details, we have learnt about the holes and electrons. We will not follow this in subsequent modules. This will be replaced like this. This is conduction band. This is forbidden energy gap lesser than 3 electron volt. If you are considering germanium, it is 0.7 electron volt, silicon 1.1 electron volt. Now, what we will show that, see the difference. As I told you that valence band here it is completely filled, so we will show that in the valence band electrons are there and it is completely filled. This is like this. These are electrons. And conduction band is completely empty. Therefore, at T equals to 0. Now, this figure will be replaced by this. At T equals to 0 Kelvin. Again, you can see conduction band is completely empty. Valence band is completely filled. Since there is no electron in the conduction band, therefore there is no conductivity and semiconductors behave like insulator. But what happens when temperature is greater than 0 Kelvin? At T is greater than 0 Kelvin, then this band is also partially filled. We are showing like this. Clear? But now we are very particular. Suppose these two electrons, they have jumped from valence band, this is valence band, to conduction band. Then we will show these two electrons must be shown in conduction band, and corresponding to them we will show two holes in the valence band. If we are showing that 4 electrons have jumped, suppose these, then there must be 4 holes in the valence band and 4 electrons in the conduction band. And since now you can see electrons are available at temperature greater than 0 Kelvin in conduction band, therefore this gives rise to conductivity, and therefore the conductivity of semiconductor lies between that of insulators and conductors. Again, two things. In intrinsic semiconductors, at absolute temperature they behave like insulator. At temperature greater than 0 Kelvin they have a small conductivity, and concentration of electron is equal to concentration of holes, which is equal to the concentration of charge carriers in intrinsic semiconductor. So this is all about intrinsic semiconductors. Now, as I told you, the conductivity of intrinsic semiconductor is very, very small. It is of no practical use. So in order to increase the conductivity of pure semiconductor, we need to add some impurity so that its conductivity can be increased. The material so selected, or the atom so selected to add, are called dopants. Process adopted is called doping, and semiconductor so formed is called impurity or doped or extrinsic semiconductors. The purpose is to increase the conductivity of pure semiconductors to make it usable for practical applications. For this, we mix some impurity atoms in the pure semiconductors, and there is a term ppm, part per million. The impurity is added in a very small amount, that is a part per million, ppm. Now the question is how we should add the impurity, what should be the criteria for selecting the dopant atoms. So these are the important issues. First I will discuss that how we will select the material or atoms to be doped, means essential requirements for a doping process. There are two important requirements. First, as you seen, we have discussed the crystal lattice of the pure semiconductor, which was of tetrahedral type or diamond shaped type. The dopant selected should not distort. The dopant should not distort the crystal lattice of the pure semiconductor. Means it should not disturb the pattern of crystal lattice. The crystal lattice should remain same. It was of diamond shape, it should remain after doping of diamond shape only. So this is first requirement. Now how it is possible? When you are going to add some impurity atom, that is called as dopant, the size of dopant should be of the order of size of atom of pure semiconductor. Means size of dopant should be equal to the size of atom of pure semiconductor. These are the two essential requirements for the doping process. First, it should not distort the crystal lattice. Second, the size of dopant must be equal to the size of atom of semiconductor. Basically, the second condition fulfills the first. If the size of impurity atom will be equal to the size of atom of the order of the size of semiconductor, then it will not distort, it will be easily fit into the crystal lattice. Now second thing, what is the doping process? Doping process is the process of mixing impurity atom into the pure. Third thing, what are the ways how we can do it? What are the methods to dope a pure semiconductor? Now there are three methods. There are three methods. Extrinsic semiconductors are also known as impurity semiconductors are doped semiconductors. Doping is the process of mixing. These are the keywords. Doping. Doping is the process of mixing the impurity into pure semiconductor, and impurity atom is called dopant. Doping is the process of mixing impurity atom and dopants are the impurity atoms. About dopants I told you, that they should not discard crystal lattice of pure semiconductors. And second point, I told you, size of dopant atoms should be of the order of size of atom of pure semiconductors. Now, talking about doping, I was telling you that there are three methods which you need to understand. Three methods are there. First method, in the molten pure semiconductor, you mix the dopant atom. Molten means you heat up the pure semiconductor, but when it becomes in the liquid form, then you add impurity atom, so that when it cools down, then it is adjusted in the pure semiconductor. The dopant fits itself in the crystal lattice of pure semiconductor. This is the one way. Second way, you heat up the semiconductor in the atmosphere of impurity atom. Means impurity atoms are present, and you heat up the pure semiconductor so that the dopant atoms get diffused in the pure semiconductor. Third method, you can bombard the ions of dopant atom into the semiconductors. These are the three methods by which you can add the impurity into the pure semiconductor. Now, on this basis, again I am coming to dopants. As I told you, that second condition fulfills the first. If the size of dopant will be equal to the size of pure atom of pure semiconductor, then it will be easily fit itself in the crystal lattice. And on this basis, there are two types of impurity atom. Which are suitable for doping. Types of impurity atoms. There are two types of impurity atoms. First is trivalent atom. Trivalent atom. As I told you that the pure semiconductors are having 4 valency. So either you select the atom which is having one less valence electron, that is trivalent atoms. These includes indium, gallium or aluminum. If you are selecting trivalent atoms, then the size of these atoms will be nearly equal to the size of pure semiconductor atom. Or you select, second, you may select pentavalent. Pentavalent means having one more valence electron, then their size will also be of the order of the size of the atom of pure semiconductor, and this includes arsenic, antimony and phosphorus. So on the basis of which type of two types I have told you, there are two types of impurity atoms which are suitable for the process of doping. There are two types of extrinsic semiconductor. When we add pentavalent atoms, then we get n-type semiconductors, and when we add trivalent atoms, we get p-type semiconductors, which we will discuss in next module. Before I finish, I will discuss one very important question and interesting also. There are three atoms: carbon, silicon and germanium. All these three are tetravalent. These are tetravalent. But this carbon, tetravalent means all of them are having 4 valence electrons in the outermost orbit. But carbon is insulator, but these two are semiconductors, and out of these two, germanium has greater conductivity. The question is why? Now, this can be answered in two ways. One, in carbon, these 4 electrons are in second orbit. In the order I am telling you, carbon. In silicon, these 4 electrons are in third orbit. In germanium, these 4 electrons are in fourth orbit. Now you may think that what does difference it make at all? Very simple. If these 4 electrons in case of carbon, they are revolving in second orbit, it means the force of attraction of nucleus on these electrons is much stronger as compared to silicon or germanium, and therefore it requires a lot of energy to make them free, and that's why this is behaving like insulator. In silicon, the outermost electrons are revolving in the third orbit. Force of attraction due to nucleus is lesser than carbon but more than germanium. That's why they have little conductivity. If you talk about germanium, all the 4 valence are in the fourth orbit, and therefore out of 3, germanium is having least force of attraction on the valence electrons, and therefore its conductivity is maximum among all. This is one way of answering. Second way that you need to learn. On the basis of energy band diagram, I told you that this is conduction band, this is valence band, and this gap is called energy gap. And for insulators, it is greater than 3 electron volt. And for insulator, and for semiconductor, it is less than 3 electron volt for semiconductors. This I discussed in the previous module. Now, on the basis of this, if we go through, then carbon has energy gap of 5.4 electron volt, and therefore it lies in the category of insulators. And as I told you earlier, silicon is having energy gap of 1.1 electron volt, and germanium is having 0.7 electron volt. Therefore, among 3, carbon is insulator and germanium is having maximum conductivity. Now go through the module carefully. In the next module, we will discuss N-type and P-type semiconductors. Till then, stay safe and stay home. Thank you.